American Gunslingers presenting Ubaldi Reports.
Hey everybody, it's John at Ubaldi Reports, the podcast that provides fact, not fiction, as it relates to everything going on foreign policy and domestic issues. And today, as we talked about in TikTok, we're going to do predictions for 2024. Now, Joe tasked me to come up with 5 predictions.
And I did not come up with
Joe didn't, but I came up with the 5 that I think are going to be issues for 2024. A lot of it carries over from 2023, and the first one being immigration. We just saw the latest report from the Customs and Border Patrol that
like 320,000?
302,000 illegals crossed the U.S. southern border, the most ever. So that's going to be a big issue, especially if those south of the border realize that a Republican could win in November, and they know if the Republican wins, all bets are off, and the border will be shut back down to where it was 4 years ago. So you're going to see more people streaming across just so they can be in America, which will be harder for them to be deported. The other issues we're going to talk about is the economy. I think it's not going to be as rosy as the administration touts, because you got huge financial debt by the government and huge residential or consumer debt, meaning credit cards are at an all-time high. Mm-hmm. And then politics, I'm going bold on this one. I think if the president is doing as bad as he is now, or even worse, I think the Democrats at the Democratic Convention in Chicago in August are not going to nominate them. And then that's when all bets are off. It's going to be a free-for-all at that convention.
There has been something circling around with that issue, especially on like TikTok, where the person that's maybe trying to run opposed to Joe Biden, all the delegates are giving their nominees to Biden anyway.
We'll have to see, but this is now.
Yeah.
You wait till July, August. If there's a perception that Joe Biden could lose and his poll numbers aren't doing that well, especially among core groups that typically vote well over 50%, that could change the calculation, so we'll have to see. The other issue is foreign policy. I think with the crisis in Ukraine, and then you have what's going on in the Middle East, how he's very timid on what he wants to do. Mm-hmm. He could be forced into doing something that he doesn't want to do, especially as relations with the Houthis in Yemen, because you have naval forces from 7 different countries all converging, trying to keep the shipping lanes open, but that can blow up because a lot of the naval forces will not put their military personnel under U.S. command, which is usually a standard thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of our European allies and a lot of our allies in general just don't trust this president.
So let's dive into your first prediction.
Immigration.
So I think a good question is that, so they're just handing out money to the immigrants as soon as they come across the border, is that right?
Well, they're basically giving them free food, obviously. They're giving them free housing.
I hear they give them like a prepaid Visa card.
Yeah, they're giving them all these benefits.
Does that affect our inflation?
Yes. When the government gives you something, you're spending money that the government doesn't have.
So they're kind of just, as a free-for-all, just giving money to these illegal immigrants that are crossing the border illegally, and yet they're giving them money that could be going to taxpayers or people that are kind of like in dire straits now.
Well, look at right now. They're spending about $500 billion taking care of illegals.
Okay.
You go to these cities. Okay, the only reason it became a big issue is when Governor Abbott, right or wrong, started busing or flying the migrants to Chicago, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Denver, New York City, and these cities who are sanctuary cities, and they still haven't renounced their sanctuary city policy. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, he fought back against citizens who want to have a vote on whether Chicago should remain a sanctuary city.
So Rob K on TikTok said, who is giving illegals money?
The federal government.
And like, is it through like the DHA?
It's through Homeland Security and different federal agencies. They are giving them, whether it's a check, but they're giving them money. When you take resources from America to give it to people who are here illegally, that's giving them money. New York City, Chicago, they have to house them somewhere.
Yeah.
Where does that somebody's paying?
So I remember going into Chicago in October, and that was like that, where they had pretty much blocked off an entire section of the airport, and they were just people having their blankets laying next to each other, almost like on top of each other, and that's where they were going to stay for the duration of like however long it took them to get sorted out.
And that's the problem. There is just, and the president wants more money, but not to stop the influx of illegals coming in. It's just to keep processing them through the system.
So that's like when he was approached by a reporter walking somewhere.
Yeah,
and they were like, "Hey, what are you going to do about the border?" And he goes, "They need to give me money."
The money.
That's what he's going to do. He's going to just put more people to process these.
That's illegals. All it is. Like when he first proposed, Corinne Jean-Pierre said we put forth a comprehensive immigration reform and it was rejected. No, that's not accurate. I read it. All it was to process more illegals through the system, into the country. They didn't do anything to stop the flow at the border. Remember back in early 2021, their whole idea, as when they put Vice President Kamala Harris in charge, was to stop the flow at the origins. Mm-hmm. So now remember, Kamala Harris went down to Guatemala and Honduras in June of 2021. That's the last time she's dealt with anybody. Some of the presidents in the Central American countries have stated, we haven't heard from Kamala Harris or somebody from the administration. Mm-hmm. So what are they doing? And when they sent Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, and Alejandro Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Director, to Mexico last week, they were basically humiliated. Mm-hmm. Mexico's not going to help out.
Yeah.
They love this stuff. They get money coming in from the illegals coming through their country, and then once they get into America, they get money coming back and readmittance of money.
Yeah.
And one of the proposals was amnesty, which is it's dead on arrival, and then give money to Cuba and Venezuela. So we're going to give money to authoritative countries.
So Rob Craig chimes in again, says, what if Chicago authorities just ship them back to Dallas or Houston or Austin? And he responds, why? This is madness. So,
well, it is madness, but the problem is, and Brandon Johnson and Eric Adams are wrong. They're blaming Governor Abbott. Well, what does Governor Abbott and the people of Texas or Arizona are supposed to do with millions pouring into their states? Also, it wasn't a big issue.
But Texas doesn't claim to be a sanctuary state.
I know, but all these other communities, states like Illinois, California, New York, all claim to be sanctuary. They said and remember during the 2019 debates prior to the 2020 election, Joe Biden said, come one, come all. Mm-hmm. And look what California did. Starting January the 1st, all illegals, regardless of immigration status, you get free health care under the Medicaid system.
Do they get to vote?
They don't get to vote, but they get free health care. So how are you affording that? So that's a draw. If I was in Mexico and I had health conditions, guess where I'm going? Mm-hmm. I'm going to California because it's far better health care than what I get in Mexico, and I don't have to pay.
So Beach Baby says federal government hasn't helped the governors on these border states despite numerous requests.
She's right. It was a major problem until Governor Abbott started shipping them north. Mm-hmm. Then these cities started to complain. And still right now, the federal government is fighting Texas and suing Texas for Texas doing when they're arresting illegals.
And let's not forget also that Chicago seized the buses that Governor Abbott was setting up there.
So then they started going to
they just send them on a plane.
Well, they go on a plane or they go into a suburbs, and then they go from there. But see, all this is stopgap measures. Until the federal government, who has oversight over immigration, does its job, it's not going to end. And when you have cities and states like California, when you come there and they take care of you, what's to prevent you from not coming? Okay. You're going to come.
So somebody, SD Steiner, MAGA, how did you expect to win 2024 when you still can't figure out or prove how we stole 2020?
Okay.
We have different views. I think it was somewhat rigged. You think it was rigged a different way, where they should have been a little bit more due diligent, or
Okay.
What's it called?
Here's my point on that.
Proactive.
I still think the 2020 was rigged, but in a different way. Now, I disagree with Trump on this matter. Nobody was going to overturn that election after the fact. There's no precedent for it.
Yeah.
The way I said it was rigged is, one, they used the pandemic or the coronavirus to exploit the voting system. They changed the rules consistently all the way up until the November 2020 election.
Okay.
That was one thing, but here's another thing. Then you had the media was not holding Joe Biden, not doing interviews. And then when that story broke about the Hunter Biden laptop, they said it was disinformation, and they used the 51 intelligence officers as cover when the FBI a year prior said this was authenticated.
Yeah.
So everybody was gearing that direction. And that's how, and then you had the social media companies downplayed or suppress anything that was detrimental to Joe Biden. That's how I said it was rigged. But what Donald Trump's attorneys did was in my opinion, legal malpractice. Nobody is going to overturn an election after the fact.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been different if we had a precedent in our history, but we didn't. So
what about Bush and
but
Gore?
that went to the courts. It wasn't that they changed the rules. That was one of the things that Florida ruled it unconstitutional. And what the Supreme Court ruled was, even though it was 5-4, they ruled that what Florida did was unconstitutional. You can't change the rules midstream.
Yeah.
That was the whole crux of it.
All right, going back to Rob K, he says, when and where did President Biden say, come one, come all? It was the first debate.
It was the first debate.
It was the very first debate where Kamala Harris called him a racist because he stopped some buses that she was on that she lied about.
Well, that was when they were doing busing during the busing issues during the 70s. But every Democrat, when they were asked, would your health care plan provide health care for illegal immigrants, every Democrat raised their hand. And Joe Biden is quoted, I think it's on CNN. I have to go back and see what month. I know it was in 2019. He said, come one, come all.
Yeah.
And that's fact.
All right, let's turn it around a little bit. Let's go to your second one, which is the economy.
Okay, the economy, you got a lot of economists who are predicting a recession in 2023. I'm not an economist, but
technically there was, right?
There was, I think, 2 quarters of, no, that was in 2022.
There was 2 negative quarters.
In 2022.
Which classifies as a recession.
Technically as a recession. I was predicting that there would be a recession with the high inflation, even though the inflation came down considerably to 3.1. But a lot of things aren't in the inflation report, and we've talked about this earlier. You still have extremely high rent. Mortgages are high. You have home prices are high. Utilities, food, all these things don't play into the inflation report. But the reason I'm predicting that 2024 is going to be a very difficult period, because we just crossed over $34 trillion in debt. We got a looming government shutdown. And then also you have 2 big things. You have massive government debt, but also a lot of consumer debt. Going into the Christmas holiday season, you had record credit card debt, over $1 trillion.
Yeah.
So if we're at a booming economy, credit card debt should not be that high.
Yeah.
Or should be, or government debt.
What's the bubble though? Okay, because let's just go back to, we had the .com bubble, which kind of hit a recession in the 2000s.
That was like 99, 2000.
Okay, and then we had the housing bubble, which was 2008.
2008, 09.
So what's going to be, what's the catalyst, or what's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back on this one?
This one, you have consumer debt with credit card, because inflation makes everything cost more.
Yeah.
And basic services. A lot of consumers are using credit card debt to pay for that. The other bubble that's going to be popping soon, and I thought it was going to happen last year, is commercial real estate side.
Okay.
A lot of the commercial real estate office buildings or the leases for that are coming due. So a lot of small businesses got loans when they could get a loan at 2%.
Yeah.
And now interest rates are 8, 9, even 10%. So a lot of these individual or entities are going to have to refinance, and they're not going to be able to. And if they want to get a loan, they can't because they can't afford it at those high interest rates. And there's going to be some defaults, and a lot of the commercial real estate properties are held by the local and regional bank or small banks. Remember the banking crisis we had with a couple banks went belly up, and the Fed jumped in, and Congress helped out of that as well.
So there's a few things that we noticed. There's a couple like indicators like that we've seen actually with our own eyes. One of them was being that FedEx, even like UPS, Amazon. I don't think they did so well when it came to Christmas as they were expecting, because for me being on the post office side, it was very light. And and usually there's people working like overtime. There's like they're having a lot of people work on their days off. But it wasn't like this. People were getting their days off. People were not asking to stay late. And then you checked it out on your end when you were
talked to UPS drivers.
Yeah.
No, there was a
FedEx.
I talked to UPS, but there was a FedEx manager who was a regional manager here in Tampa.
And they lost what, $7 billion?
Yeah, they lost $7 or $8 billion. But I asked them, because after you said that day, I asked him, "Have you seen a droppage in packages?" And he said, "Oh yeah, we've seen a substantial decrease in packages." And you made a comment today. You went.
Yeah, I was going to go into that. I was going to go when my son and I we went to the mall, and he was hungry and I wasn't, but I was going to make sure he ate.
That's a good father.
Yeah, well, that is, especially as when your kid wants to eat, you feed them.
But then once you finish that story, you got to tell us the Nutella story.
Oh,
but
God, don't get me started. All right, but I was looking around, and I was not the only person not eating. It wasn't like I wasn't sharing his food with him. He was just eating. I wasn't hungry. That was our situation. But I was looking around, and I would see like two people sharing a meal. I would see like a woman with like 3 kids all sharing the same food, and it didn't seem odd to me, but it just kind of got
you thinking.
Yeah, it got me thinking. Because like, why is there this sharing? Is it because maybe they just want to get enough food for the kids to last them till dinner? I don't know. Or do they want to still go out, take the kids out of the house, but still feed them? And maybe are they on a budget? I mean, because the mall food is not cheap.
No.
Even though the quality is not there, it's still, you're just like, I'm going to pay $17 for that.
Well, see, the thing is with food prices, there was an article today, Chick-fil-A raised its prices again, and they've been moving up steadily. And
Starbucks did it too.
For our listeners' sake, once my business cratered, I'm trying to get it back, I had to go work at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And when I was working there, I would talk to the general manager. And I would say his cost had gone up. Everything went up. Gloves used to be $40 a box. We're now $120 a box. Eggs. And they have all the other commodities that come in. And they had horrible delivery drivers. And he complained, and the companies used to say, "I'm sorry, but it's better to have a bad driver than no driver."
So Jeff on TikTok says price gouging. Are they?
No, because the reason I say that, I mean, I would say maybe in limited cases, but the reason I say there's not price gouging, they bring that up every year. It's just like when they say the oil companies are gouging us. Well, you go through this every year, and it's great press, but they never show us, okay, give us an example. Show us concrete evidence.
The example is if there's not a lot of something, then the price goes up.
Exactly.
If there's a lot of something, it goes down.
Yeah, but they never show you the example where there's price gouging, where they have hard evidence that companies were price gouging. They never show that. It's just they just move on. The press forgets about it. Like this year, you watch. Come spring, when gas prices inadvertently go back up again, they're going to say, "Oh, they're gouging the press. The oil companies are gouging us."
What do they mean? So a lot of people are also commenting, saying that they've had record profits. One commented that the profits are through the roof. The other one says record profits are an example.
Because the reason the profits have gone up is because everything costs more.
Yeah.
If consumers are spending more on an item, let's say easy math. Let's say something cost $100 3 years ago, now costs $200. Of course, the companies are going to make record profits. I talked to a small.
Well, I think they're confusing profit with revenue. Like the money that a business is bringing in, like with our business, like we could bring in, say, $2.5 million in revenue, but our profit is looking at close to like maybe $800,000,
because you still got expenditures,
and that's still money that we could say, okay, hey guys, we're going to split this up evenly, or we have to take this profit, reinvest it back into the company.
But you're also looking at two different. People are also looking at two different businesses. There's corporate America. The corporations are doing really well. Small business, which makes up 60% of all business in America, they're not doing too well. I talked to a couple weeks ago. I talked to a local mechanic. He owns his own garage, and he has 5 employees. And I asked him, "Is your costs going up?" "Oh yeah, my costs have gone up on everything."
Yeah.
So people need to differentiate. What business are you talking about? Corporate America is doing really well.
Yeah.
Small businesses aren't.
No.
And they make it. And when Congress passed all this great legislation that Joe Biden touts, all of that was benefiting corporate America.
Yeah.
There wasn't no bailouts. There was no helping middle America or small business. And look at the EV issue. That's killing small business. There's California is, I know I keep relating back to California because they want to be the model for the country. They're making it mandating that all long haul trailers be electric.
Yeah.
And that's just unfeasible. So all these things are going to play out. And then we're seeing what's going on the fourth issue, or one of the other issues, is what's going on overseas. If there's a disruption, because now commercial shipping are reluctant to transit the Red Sea. So those are choke point that sends energy to the Western countries. So what do we do then?
Well, hopefully by then we have a president that likes to be energy independent.
Now, we are producing at record levels, more than we've ever did before.
Yeah.
But that's in spite of Joe Biden. If you look at where the energy is being produced, between fracking and our shale revolution, it's all in red state on private land.
Yeah.
This isn't in public land. California could be energy independent. They have a buttload of natural gas and other energy sources, but they're not utilizing it. And they're making a mandate by 2035 that all vehicles sold in the state of California have to be electric.
So before we go into that, you kind of made a bold prediction of what's going to happen come June or July of 2024 if the numbers aren't looking great for our current president.
Well, August is the Democratic convention. It's going to be in Chicago. And I'm just going to throw it out as a bold prediction. I believe if the poll numbers are as bad as they are now, and Joe Biden's about 39% approval rating, if it keeps continuing downward, and it could happen with anything happen, let's say he goes down to, 30% or 35% approval rating. I just got this feeling the Democrats are going to just say, we can't go with this. We want to keep the White House. Let's pick somebody else.
Yeah.
And anybody could come out of that convention. So then the American peoples, because right now there's a big fracture.
Who decides it, though? Like if
the convention delegates are going to do it. And it's going to be done by closed door. It's not going to be a big Democratic issue. See, right now, the Democrats, everybody focuses on the contention, the Republican side. They're in the minor leagues, not even that.
Yeah.
The Democrats have this huge coalition between the different ethnic groups, the progressives, the moderates, the conservatives. All these groups are playing in, and it's getting ugly. That's why Joe Biden doesn't change his immigration stance, because he doesn't want to alienate that progressive base who believes in open borders.
But I mean, also, I mean, I think he just doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, but
also, like, is the fix almost in? You don't see him campaigning. You don't see him doing.
They're trying to protect him as much as they can, because they know.
Because you get him on an open mic, and it's
right now he's fighting with the staff, and this is I think it was in Newsweek, where he wants to get out more, and his aides just go cringe. If you watch Jill Biden at the New Year's Eve celebration when Ryan Seacrest asked him a question, you can see her of like almost like this white knuckle approach, like, oh crap, here he goes. He's gonna.
So wait, Joe Biden was at the.
Well, they did a video teleconference on the
yeah,
whatever that's called, the scoreboard or whatever the thing, and it showed that everybody's afraid of what he's going to say, because he goes off script and he just either rambles or mumbles, and it shows his age, and it's not a good sign. But going into this campaign season, he can't just sit in the basement.
Yeah,
he's going to have to get out, and I just think, and if the crisis opens up in the Middle East, which we get heavily more involved with the Houthis or other entities with proxy forces attacking U.S. forces, he's reacting to events instead of being proactive. This could shake up the Democrats, and they said, we got to pick somebody else.
You know, there's not a lot, but they did it. Like, so there was not a lot you could blame Trump on for what they inherited, but they did. Now, but all they're really doing is that if Trump is the next president, they're giving him a plethora of like things to be like, well, this is what happened with the previous administration. You know, I mean, like, and it's true.
But see, at the beginning, they could blame Trump for a lot of things. But see, when Joe Biden ran in 2020, he was a challenger. So Trump was defending his record.
Nope. So Beach Baby kind of comes in there real quick. She says, "Is there truth? Biden's name will be will only be on the state ballots."
There's one state, and I think
Maine was one, right?
I think it's South Carolina. Right now, he's the only person on that ballot. The other states, I'm not sure of yet.
Okay.
But so I know one state, South Carolina, which they refuse to put anybody else on, so they have him on the ballot.
So why won't they put anybody else on?
That's the Democrats could run the way you want to.
Oh, okay. So it's mostly Democratic right?
This one, this is a Democratic primary, so they can set the rules up for their primary.
Beach Baby wants to know, how can that be allowed? Is it just
and that's the point.
States' rights?
All the states control, and each party controls in their state how their states vote. In the Constitution, it's explicit. All voting for voting goes back to the states. That's why in 2020, Texas sued, complaining about how other states did it, and the Supreme Court ruled you have no standing to tell other states what to do.
Mind your own business, Texas.
That's basically what they said.
So I wish Matt would put a little bit more context. He said he didn't last. He didn't last time more votes than anyone in history.
I'm sure. I'm guessing he's referring to Joe Biden, but you also got to remember the population of the country is bigger than any time in U.S. history. So each president who wins is always going to get more votes than the previous year, because the population increases dramatically since then. But
and now that there's how many more illegal immigrants from when the administration took over
right now
to now?
If in 4 years they could be up to almost 12 million illegals that entered this country. So that's more than the population of some states.
Wow. Man, all right.
So now there's another issue.
Biden not campaigning. Okay, that's what. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, the other issue that I want to bring up is a prediction. Now we're in the winter right now, and if there's a cold front going through the Northeast, and if it's, I don't know how bad it's going to be, but even as we go into February, March, if there's another polar vortex, there could be energy shortages because we've limited where we get our energy to go to this green technology.
In Florida?
Not just in Florida, but other states.
I think Florida, we're good.
No, but up in the Northeast. But I spoke with last year I spoke with a representative from TECO, which is a Florida utility company. Prior to the pandemic, one of the city councilmen, and I'm not sure if I can't remember who it was, he never said, wanted them to get rid of all natural gas plants. And he said, if you do that, where do you get your energy from? Remember, John Kerry said, we're going to eliminate all coal-fired plants, stop any new ones from being put together or put online, and end all existing ones. Well, coal makes up 30% of the U.S. energy grid. Mm-hmm. So if you eliminate 30%, where does that extra energy come from? And you can't generate all that from coal. Yep. I mean, from wind and solar. Even China is going through wind and solar, but they also keep pushing out every 10 days is a coal-fired plant.
All right, John. So we got the majority of our predictions. Maybe we could finish up later, but why don't you go ahead and tell them how they can get a hold of us?
You can get a hold of us by going to ubaldireports@gmail.com, ubaldireports@gmail.com, or you can check us out at TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Let us know what you think. Let us know what your predictions are and what you think this year is. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're trying to do this every day, but we got to get there. So every Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, unless something comes up, we will be doing it. And before I sign off, let Joe talk about what he's got with All American Gunslingers.
So All American Gunslingers, it's our gun range, it's our gun store. We're gonna have gunsmithing, we have classes, we have it all. And you can go ahead and check us out on allamericangunslingers.com. Coming soon. Gives about maybe 2-3 weeks on that, and you'll be able to purchase firearms directly from the website. I can say whatever I want because Ray's not here to corral me. So, also you can get us on all social media, which is All American Gunslingers, and you can email us if you have any more information. If you want more information at allamericangunslingers@gmail.com, and go to our Facebook page, like our page, share our page, and follow us. Do all the three, and we will be giving out a free membership to somebody that does all three. So with that being said, everybody have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, till next Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Keep following Ubaldi.